Welcome to the Big Ten Prediction Studios. This week, we're going on week 2. Last week, we ended up going 5-5. Kind of a bad week for us, but got 14 games to get into this week, so let's go ahead and roll with it. First up, we got Penn State and Ball State. Penn State's 22.5 point favorites. The over-under is 57. I like Penn State to roll here and cover the 22.5 points, sticking with the under 35-10 Penn State. Next up, we have Wisconsin and Eastern Michigan. Wisconsin's 26-point favorites with an over-under 51.5. I like Wisconsin big here, 42-7. Wisconsin covers the under, although I'm not very confident in that under. Illinois and Virginia. Illinois is coming off a super disappointing loss against UTSA. They're 10-point dogs today against Virginia, and with an over-under of 55. I like Virginia. However, I don't like them enough. I like Illinois to win plus 10, but Virginia wins the game. Illinois with the 10 points wins against the spread, and it stays under that 55. Indiana State and Northwestern. This is kind of a weird game. I'm interested to see how the Wildcats rebound after their loss against Michigan State. It is a 26.5 point game with favoring Northwestern with no over and under. I like Northwestern to win here, 28-10. However, I'd avoid the 26.5 point spread, maybe just money line this game and parlay it with some of the other games that we have coming up later on. Miami of Ohio and Minnesota. The Gophers took probably one of the bigger losses of any college football team with Ibrahim going out for the season. They'll need to work their backs out. They got time to do it with Miami of Ohio this week. They're 19-point favorites with an over-under of 54. I like Minnesota here, 34-7. We'll say they cover the 19 points and keep it on the under. Rutgers versus Syracuse. This is another interesting matchup. Rutgers is a much improved team this year, and they have a real shot to be a dark horse in the East. They're 2-point favorites as of right now, with an over-under of 52. I like them to win this game 35-24 and keeping it on the under. Purdue and UConn. UConn is probably one of the worst teams in Division I college football right now. I would avoid this game if at all possible. Purdue is 34-point favorites with an over-under of 58. I think Purdue wins big here, 45-10, and stays under, but I wouldn't touch this game. I would money line Purdue if you have to and parlay it with the Indiana State and Northwestern game. Up next, we have the Buffalo and Nebraska. Nebraska is like one of the bigger hit and miss teams this year. I don't know much about Buffalo, but I do not think that anybody should sleep on them, especially in Nebraska. Nebraska's favored by 13 with an over-under 54.5. I do think that Nebraska wins 31-24. We'll give Buffalo the 13 points. Buffalo wins with the 13. And it stays under 54.5 as long as the line stays at 54.5. If it drops down to 53, you take the over. But as of right now, it's 54.5. I would stay at that 54.5. Idaho and Indiana. Indiana struggled last week to score. I don't think that'll be the case this week. They're 32.5 point favorites with no over or under. Again, I would money line this with the Northwestern and Purdue games. Indiana wins big, 48-7. Howard and Maryland. This is another game that Maryland looks good. There's no line on this game, but I think that Maryland's going to win 35-10. Washington versus Michigan. Washington comes in after looking terrible last week against Montana. Michigan looked good, but they lost Ronnie Bell for the year. Michigan's 6.5 point favorites with an over-under of 49. I like Michigan to cover 6.5, and I like them to go over the 49. We'll say they win 35-17. Youngstown State and Michigan State. Michigan State looked really, really good and improved from last season. They're 20.5-point favorites with no over and under. I like Michigan State to roll easy here, 42-10. Moving on, we have the two best games, probably at least in the Big Ten this week. Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa looked dominant against a pretty good Indiana team. I think that Indiana is a good team. And Iowa State really struggled at home against a UNI team that is, nowhere near the caliber that Iowa is. Iowa's actually underdogs in this game by 4.5 points with an over-under of 46.5. I really like Iowa to win this game. And even if you only take the 4.5 and pick Iowa here, I would pick them straight up to win this game. I think that Iowa wins 28-17, and it stays under the 46.5. Finally, we had the Oregon versus Ohio State game. Oregon looked a little shaky against the defense of Fresno State last week. I think that Ohio State is going to cause some issues in the backfield and really should get to the quarterback and shake him up early, causing a lot of turnovers, or at least a few turnovers early in the game. I still like both teams to be able to put up some points here. I think that Ohio State's run defense really got exposed last week against Ibrahim, but we'll see how they look up front this week. Ohio State's 14-point favorites with an over-under of 63. I like the Buckeyes here, and I like them to score a bunch of points. The defense against the linebackers of Oregon are really good, but their secondary is not as good, and I think that Ohio State's just too good, too fast on the outside, and they spread Oregon out here, and they put up a bunch of points. I like Ohio State to win 49-34. Like I said last week, we went 5-5, and with 14 games this week, we can only improve. So let's see how we do. Also, if you don't already, go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow. I'm going to be posting these videos weekly on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. However, I stream these live as well on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/merksjj. Working on a name change. It'll probably be Big Ten predictions or something like that. But I do stream these weekly on Twitch. So go ahead and give me a follow over there. I appreciate it. Good luck betting this week. Hopefully we can get some wins. Let's go.